With the UK elections just a few days away, it's time to focus on the man most likely to become UK's next Prime Minister. That would be Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party. Now, Starmer's party is miles ahead of Rishi Sunak's Conservatives in the polls. Should these trends translate into electoral reality, Labour could win its biggest election victory in 100 years. And Starmer will become the UK's most powerful Prime Minister in decades. So it's worth asking, who is Keir Starmer and what does he stand for? Keir Starmer was born to a lower middle class family in 1962. His parents, a toolmaker and a nurse, named him after Keir Hardie, the first ever leader of the Labour Party. It wasn't an easy childhood, especially since Keir Starmer's mother suffered from a debilitating disease which occupied much of his early years. As a young man, Starmer studied law and was early on associated with left-wing and socialist causes, which marked him out for a career in politics. After getting his law degree from Oxford, Starmer became a human rights lawyer, taking on cases for people in disadvantaged backgrounds. He rose to national fame in the 1990s when he defended two activists who were being sued by the multi-billion-dollar McDonald's corporation. He continued to rise in the legal profession, and many believe his political personality was shaped by his profession. As a politician, he's seen as sharp, highly detail-oriented, and professional by the British public. But his training as a lawyer also makes him seem reserved, unemotional, and frankly boring. He isn't seen as particularly exciting by any group. Now, Starmer really rose to prominence as Director of Public Prosecutions, which meant that he was responsible for taking on some of Britain's most high-profile criminal cases. He did the job for 5 years, and by the end of it, he was ready to make the plunge into politics. In 2015, he was elected a Member of Parliament for the Labour Party, which was sitting in opposition at the time. He was promoted extremely quickly and became the Shadow Minister for Brexit under the radical leader Jeremy Corbyn. However, Starmer was always seen as a moderate member of the party, despite working for a deeply polarizing leader. Within a short while, Corbyn had deeply divided the party, and he stepped down after losing the 2019 elections to the Conservative Party. This was Starmer's big moment, and he didn't fumble it. He launched his bid for the leadership of the Labour Party, and he won. Now, as leader of the opposition, Starmer's cautious, professional, competent, and boring brand was initially not much help to the Labour Party. He had a rough start fighting the charismatic Conservative Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But as the ruling Conservative Party was hit by one scandal after the other, Starmer began to look better and better by comparison. Over the last few years, Britain's cost of living crisis and shoddy economic growth have made the Conservatives more and more unpopular. Meanwhile, Starmer has steered the Labour Party towards the centre and has tried to cultivate a moderate and responsible image for his party. He has also pushed for responsible economic policies and has even expelled many far-left MPs within his party. That has worked to some extent. We've gotten to the point where it's almost certain that Starmer will be the UK's next Prime Minister. And for some, that's good news. After the political chaos of the last 5 years, with 3 Prime Ministers serving in just the last 2 years, Starmer's professional and no-drama persona seems like a good change of pace for Britons. However, there are also major concerns about Starmer. If he takes over as Prime Minister, he will have to deal with a massive number of challenges, ranging from immigration and the economy to crumbling public services and the war in Ukraine. As numerous commentators have pointed out, pulling Britain out of this crisis will take a politician of rare skill. And it doesn't always seem like Starmer is that man. Vast sections of the public don't actually know what Starmer stands for or what policies he will implement, despite the fact that he will likely be Prime Minister in just a few days. Now, part of that is a deliberate strategy since Starmer has opted to be extremely cautious about making big promises and changes. But that caution could also be a big drawback since the UK is in need of sweeping policy changes. And Starmer's cautious style may not be what the country needs at this time. His performance on the debate stage against incumbent Prime Minister Rishi Sunak just last week has exposed that public communication may not necessarily be his strongest suit. And it's a weakness Starmer will have to address if he hopes to lead his country out of the crisis it finds itself in. Thanks for watching India Today Global. We'll keep you updated with the latest from the UK elections.